Hi Govanen, and welcome back to another Monster Mash. We are pretty excited. So we've been rolling randomly on a list of most of the monsters of Middle-earth SBG that have hero characteristics in the SBG game. So these are monsters with might, will, and fate, with special rules. They're meant to be army leaders, and they are a pile of fun. So we've been rolling randomly to pit them up against each other in a round-robin tournament. After we're done the round-robin, we're going to rank them all and then play them off each other in an elimination tournament. We've been rolling 20-sided dice on this list of 16 monsters. So Ronan, who's up today? Who did we roll this time?
We have got the blubbery, nasty little turd, the Goblin King. And he is kind of one of the weaker characters on the list, but his blubber will probably help him out a lot. And against him today, we have got Gwaihir, who in the old rules was pretty close to just completely abyssal. But in the new rules, he's actually gotten a whole pile of buffs. So
we'll take a look at the rules, but first let's look at the models. Do you want to talk about your Goblin King?
He's nothing fancy. I actually did him a long while ago.
This is one of the first models that this 13-year-old kid, annoying kid, who just knew all the rules and would keep beating me at games, played. And honestly, I gotta say, I think he did okay. So a 13-year-old kid, he's learning. Some of you people watching this video are amazingly gifted artists and put us to shame. Today, he's going to be rolling Nurgle-Rot dice, or Plague Marine dice, or Games Workshop plastic gross dice. There's a squishy rubber membrane on the inside of this. You can actually squish the inside of that die. It's like really gross. And we figured that was appropriate for a gross Goblin King. For a Gwaihir, I don't actually have the new Gwaihir model. I have the old metal Gwaihir model, but the new plastic eagles are just so much more impressive. So these are the two plastic eagle models, and I've done different things on their bases. Just for interest's sake, this base is made out of cork, which I have cut and snapped and just tried my best to make interesting. The other base here is made out of foam. So if I take in Ontario, Canada, where we live, buildings are made out of this pink foam. This is in the walls in most new buildings. So I cut up a couple chunks of the pink foam and built a little mountain here out of it. Cut up some scraps for the top and made some rock peaks, and then just flew the eagle over the top of the mountain, and that worked out pretty well. So spray painting this was a bugger and a half, because most spray paints emit just a wee bit of heat when they cure, and that wee bit of heat is enough that it wrecks the foam. But if you cut the foam at odd angles with a serrated knife, you get a really nice rock edge, and then you can stick falling crashing eagles. You can stick some snow and some water effect in there and color it up good. I sprayed this with a plasticized spray paint, and that helped to seal it. And then we just sort of dry brushed it up and made it look nice and rocky. So that is one of my two eagles that I proxy in as Gwaihir. And the other of the two eagles proxying in as Gwaihir is just, he's stuck to his base properly. Is this guy on the foam base. On the cork base. So this is just chunks of cork. Deliberately roughed up around the edges, and then some rock glued down, and a couple of little grass tufts, and some Games Workshop snow, and some Woodland Scenics water resin. So nothing fancy there for dice. This is Chessex pattern lustrous slate, and we put a custom eagle face on the 6th side of that dice, and these are some of my favorite dice. So Gwaihir is going to be throwing eagles today, and the Goblin King is going to be throwing rot. So, Ronan, shall we take a quick look at their heroic profiles?
Sure.
Here's the new book.
It's the fancy, awesome new book. This is Gwaihir, and that's the new Forge World model that was created. It's actually a really nice model. The new Gwaihir is, for some reason, he's a hero of legend, because, of course, he's going to be leading 18 eagles, because that's always going to happen. But his profile is really nice. He has a 3-inch movement, which I love that they actually fixed that finally. 3 inches is because he has the fly special rule, and in the new rules, fly includes the 12-inch movement. So he actually moves 12 inches, but if for whatever reason, like say, Floey takes away his ability to fly, then he'll just move 3 inches.
Yeah, or if you wanted to crawl across some rough terrain like a forest or something. I think they changed the forest access rules too, right?
Yep.
It used to be that you couldn't land in trees, period. So if you played against goblins or orcs or something that could wander around underneath the trees, you literally could not engage the game because of the way the fly rule used to work. But now he's got a 3-inch move, so he can, at 1.5 inches per turn through rough terrain. It would be pretty rough. Or he can fly and use the 12 inches from fly. big deal is Monstrous Charge, so you want to explain that one?
Sure. It works just like regular cav bonuses, so when you charge, you get the extra attack and knock to the ground, same as cavalry, except Monstrous Charge lets you knock down cavalry in addition to other monsters that have a lower strength than you.
Yeah.
So
he is strength 6, so there aren't going to be any other monsters of lower strength than that. But
except for the Goblin King.
who is strength 5. Well, but beyond the fact that he's strength 5, there's also a special bonus for the Misty Mountains War faction here, which applies. So if we've got only one eagle, we do have the faction bonus happening here. +1 strength on the charge means that when you combine that with Monstrous Charge, there's strength 7 on the charge. So Gwaihir could actually knock down most strength 6 monsters when he's charging. Only if he's charging. Then Monstrous Charge, of course, that means that once they're knocked down, you get double strikes. Now, he causes terror like most monsters in the game. When we're playing these one-on-one duels, we're ignoring that. We're saying they're all fearless because they're basically heroic challenged each other. Are we not? You're looking at me funny.
Yeah, we've been doing courage tests for the past couple.
Well, then I'm lying. Ignore that. Strike comment.
We can do that from now on.
No, let's not. We'll keep it consistent. All right, here's his heroic actions. Strike, strength, and defense. Strike means his fight value goes up. Strength means his strength goes up. Defense means you have to roll natural 6s to wound him. He's already defense 8. The Goblin King's a beast, but defense 8's pretty good. Gwaihir, in the updated rules, he's got more might than he used to have, which is a big deal. He used to only have 1 might, now he's finally got 3. So he's actually a bit of a beast now.
Yeah, and he's a lot more of a tank. In the old rules, he did have his 3 wounds, as most eagles did, but he now also has 3 fate points, which, even though they're only a 4+ save, it's really nice. It puts him right up there with some other big nasty characters.
So let's talk about the Goblin King. These two are very close to the same point values. Goblin King is a monster. He's gross. He's a big goblin. His special rule is Blubbery Mass. He hasn't changed since the last version of the rules yet, except that in the new rules they give him some heroics. Ron, you remember what they are?
Heroic Strength, Heroic Strike, and Heroic Challenge. So he's obviously the big heavy hitter for the Goblin Town list, especially with their heroes losing the ability to do literally anything. He's going to be the one doing all of their damage. His stat line and everything, we know nothing about any changes yet. So he's still the Fight 6, Strength 5, Defense 5, 3 Attack, 3 Wound, Courage 3, 3 Might, 2 Will, 1 Fate character that we all know and love or hate, depending on who you are.
And Burley with a 2-handed pick is nice for him, so he'll be fighting at somewhere between Strength 6, 6.5, 7, depending on what he rolls. Relentless Advance isn't going to play into this game, but if you play him with his army, he can barge through his own line and potentially do damage to his own line, but not in this case since we're just doing one-on-one monster battles.
And that rule is actually a lot more useful than most people actually think it is. It's actually really nice.
Gives you the ability to make sure that you position the Goblin King where you want and you control where he engages and doesn't, because you can just sneak through your own line and put him wherever you like. Including right on top of one of your own goblins, which would die, but if you kill a 3-point goblin in order to have the Goblin King take out a hero, that's a good trade. Blubbery Mass is going to come into effect this time, and that's going to mean that whenever he takes a wound, he might not take a wound. He can shrug it off. We'll watch that one play out in the game. I think we're pretty much ready to throw some dice. What do you think, Ronan?
Absolutely.
Here we go. Let's get some action happening. Priority?
First off, double check.
Should be 12 inches apart. Gwaihir is within range. Goblin King is not.
There we go. Oh, that'd be you.
Charged. Hi-yah! Caca. Alright.
Okay.
Which means I get 3 dice in the combat. You
I
gonna
will
do
have
anything?
my 3. I will be doing a Heroic Strike.
So I will counter.
Sure.
Which means I'm going to be higher fight than you.
Ha ha ha. I'm starting fight 6. So I get to fight 10.
Oh my goodness, and I don't. So you actually have higher fight this time.
Alright, 2-handed piercing striking. There's 6.
And I can't beat it since you have higher fight, so I'm back.
Strength goes up by 1, because in the new rules it just goes up by 1. So he's now strength 6. Against defense 8 would need 5s down to 4s because of 2-handed.
He gets 2 wounds. So Gwaihir is going to purse a fate. He's got 3 fate to burn. Passes them both.
Nice.
Alright, priority.
Come on. 5.
I do not get priority this time. Goblin King, is he going to pass his terror?
That is
Of
the
course
question.
not. Fails. I charge you anyway. 3 dice to your 3.
Heroic striking again.
Heroic countering.
I got fight. Ah, you didn't roll your heroic strike.
I go up to a very high fight value. Alright, try again. What? Oh my goodness. Gwaihir's heroic striking is not doing anybody any favors here. You got your... You don't get a 6. I get a 6. You gonna burn your last might out?
I will.
Goblin King is out of might, but he does win that fight.
Again, looking for those 4s. And there's 2.
2 4s. So Gwaihir has 3 wounds. He's got 1 fate left. Why not? We'll roll the fate. Fails! So Gwaihir takes 2 wounds. He's got 1 wound left. Need to win this one. Alright, Gwaihir.
Goes to you.
Takes the priority. Caw-caw.
Oh boy.
Now I'm higher fight
I
value.
am not piercing striking.
Now you're toast.
And you win.
Handily.
And
Gets
knocked
double
down.
strikes because the Goblin King is such a coward. At strength 8.
That's 3.
Strength 7? Strength 8.
Strength 7, but you still need 3s.
So that's 1 wound. I get to roll all 3 of these again. We're going to remember there's a 2 in case I might that. Here's the double strike roll.
Here's 2 more.
That's 2 more wounds. He's done 3 wounds, and I had a 2 which I could might. I have to decide if I'm going to might that before we finish this roll. He's got 1 might left.
Don't do it.
Save the might.
Okay.
3 wounds dealt. What happens to the Goblin King? Here's his blubber test. He has to roll 3s to pass his
Correct.
blubber test?
Correct.
Because the bugger just doesn't die.
And there's 2 3s.
So 2 wounds don't even happen. 1 wound is real. So now you can fate the 1 real wound.
Spending is 1 fate point.
Fails. So Goblin King takes 1 wound. He's got 2 wounds left.
So 2 wounds to 1 wound.
Priority.
Tense.
Gwaihir wins. Caw-caw.
And no might to counter. Oh boy.
Here we go.
This is where this gets real.
Gwaihir gets a 5. Do you beat a 5? No. So Gwaihir wins. You're prone and trapped. Here comes the first 3 dice. There's 1 wound, 2 wounds. And he gets to reroll all of those. 3 wounds. So 3 wounds dealt, and he's going to save his might.
3 blubbers. And it makes all 3.
And the Goblin King is gross. Back off because Goblin King was prone. We got to give him his space. Priority. Gwaihir does not get priority this time. Goblin King.
Terror test. Actually, you know what? He is not going to terror test. He's just going to stand up.
Because why?
Because if he fails this terror test, then he's not allowed to move, which means he has to stay on the ground.
So he is not going to fail his terror test, which means he is going to get up. And Gwaihir is going to charge him anyway. Caw-caw. And we're going to get stuck in the tree. Let's just move over since we're just doing a one-on-one anyway.
Sure.
Gwaihir charged. Here we go.
2-handed piercing striking just because. I get a 5.
6 from Gwaihir, so he wins, which means the Goblin King is knocked over anyway. Let's just roll all 6 of these dice.
Oh boy.
Looking for 3s. Wow, look at how terrible his own dice betray him. That's triple snake eyes. But there's 3 wounds on the slobbery dice. What's the blubber do?
There. Oh.
2 fails. That's 2 wounds on the Goblin King. 1 blubber save.
And he's out.
Those 2 wounds are it. The Goblin King is toast. Gwaihir prevails. Hey, Gwaihir! Caw-caw! Alright, thanks for watching. Hope you had some fun. We will be back again soon with another Monster Mash video. Gwaihir takes this one over the Goblin King. Yay, Gwaihir! See, the good guys do win sometimes.